Hi folks, it's Dean from Triple Dino. Today we're going to talk about Lembeh Resort. Now this was the resort that my wife and I chose when we went to Lembeh Strait for diving, for macro diving. I've already done a video on Lembeh macro diving from the diving aspect. I just want to do this video just talking about the actual resort itself. Lembeh Resort was a fantastic choice, and we chose it largely based on the TripAdvisor reviews. It was at the time in 2014 when we visited in January. They had a bunch of awards on the counter. They had won the TripAdvisor #1 in Lembeh for a number of years, or they did at least that year, and looked like they had more than one. So a lot of people really enjoyed their reviews, and I can attest, and we can attest, that the operation that they have there, the management of the resort, the dive operation, the facilities, the photo hut, everything, the management of the photo hut was like the best we've ever had. It was just a fabulous place. The value for money was excellent. So there's a few things I want to touch on here about the resort, and I'll put a link in to our other video to do with the diving aspect of it. But in that diving aspect, I also talked about how to get there and stuff like that, and I'm going to quickly touch on that in this video first for those who haven't seen that video. If you want to know more about the diving, then I'll put the link to the other video below this one. So first of all, where is it? Well, Lembeh Strait is in Indonesia, and it's off the island of Sulawesi and in the northeast corner of it. And you get at Lembeh through the city of Manado. So you fly into Manado, and so if you had Sulawesi, this would be where Manado is. So Manado. So this is where you would fly in. That's where you would fly in, and then you would trek across to the town of Bitung. Bitung. And then there's the island this is Lembeh Island, and this here is Lembeh Strait, right in here. So Lembeh Dive Resort and Spa is right here. So you need to take a little boat across here to get back and forth to the island, or to the mainland. So you fly into Manado. This is about an hour and a half, somewhere in there. And there's a big volcano right here, and this is like a big park, and a volcano is in here, and it's always kind of steaming the whole time, so it's great to look at. And there's a jungle at the base of it. There's a big jungle, and there's a lot of monkeys and stuff in there that you can go on day trips and see, and we did as well. We went and saw the tarsiers in there. They're cute little big-eyed monkeys that you can actually go see, and it's just wonderful. And you can go inside these stumps or these big trees, cavities of these trees, and see bats and things. So it's a little like topside excursions for you as well that you can do. Anyways, once you get across to Lembeh, that's basically how you get to Lembeh Resort. So as far as amenities are concerned, the resort itself, the resort has these self-contained cabins, and they have a separate building of rooms where you can get sort of like a hotel-style rooms. Not when I say self-contained, I mean that they're on their own. They're detached, but they're not self-contained in terms of having their own cooking facilities and stuff. They do have fridges just like a hotel room does, and they have water there, and they have a little bowl of fruit for you, but generally you're going to get your sustenance and stuff from the common area where they would be serving food at the designated times, and you'd have to show up for those. And I believe that's included in the payment to the resort, and it's kind of food's included. Sort of a full board plan. We had cabin number 1, which is the one that's farthest away from the resort, but it's a choice one. It's right up on sort of a pinnacle, right up on the shoulder of this inlet. So where the fishermen get up every morning and come out at about 4:30 in the morning, so you can always hear them chugging away, which is nice. And it's also, you can see right down Lembeh Strait from the deck. It had its own covered deck as well, so if it rains in the monsoon season, if you go there, which frequently it will, you're covered in a beautiful deck. And I can't remember if it had a hammock or not, but it certainly had beautiful deck chairs and tables, and it was wonderful. Wonderful views, and I'll post some pictures in this video of the views and such. The spa, well, the spa is a separate, again, detached building just behind the common area where you would eat and overlook the resort. And the staff there have been trained to duplicate from a professional, so they have set routines that you can purchase, and we found their service wonderful. It was just wonderful to be able to come up from a dive and take advantage of the spa. Very reasonable prices in there, especially in comparison to North American prices. So, and great to take advantage of that again for your vacation to make it nicer. Of course, the common area you mentioned. There's the common area has in the bottom registration desk there. And some offices and that sort of thing, and then above it is the eating area, which you can get at through some of the little beautifully manicured garden trails that they have there. The foliage and the fauna around there are kept just pristine, so it's just very picturesque. Again, I'll post photos. It's a wonderful, just the experience just wandering around the resort is very, very nice. And the dive shop, very well run, very knowledgeable locals who've been in the water for years. I remember one of the dive masters, Oppo, wonderful young man who on the board, they'll have a little whiteboard there and they'll talk about the layout of the reef, and they'll actually draw some of it, or they'll bring some of their little pictures that they've already drawn and show you. And they'll tell you about some of the creatures that you might be able to see at the different depths and to watch out for them. And they're more than willing to identify them in books. They've got books on the boats. So if you see something and you don't know how to say what it is, you can just point it out. You can point it out in the book and they'll tell you what it is. Or you can point something out in the book and they'll go find it for you. So they're very good at that. There was a gentleman there, one of the dive masters that my wife and I hired. His name was Iwan. And he's well known in Lembeh. Very knowledgeable older gentleman. Well, he was younger than us by a long shot, but he was able to tell us a lot about the history of Lembeh, and we got him to go look for some stuff for us. We wanted to see a certain kind of harlequin shrimp, and he was able to find that for us in a sort of a coral graveyard is where you go looking for those things, and he just turned those things over relentlessly until he found them, and we got our pictures. One of the great things about Lembeh and photographers is they have their own camera hut where you can leave your camera gear in there, and you have your own little spot with your own little electrical receptacles and your own towels that you can cover stuff over, and so it's all ready to go, and you don't need to be carrying stuff back and forth. If you're like me and you have this massive rig, you know what, it's a real pain to take it back to your unit every night, right? So they have this place where they lock it up at night. It's well set up, and then outside they have this high pressure sprayer to blow it off, and a dunk tank and all this kind of stuff. So just very well set up, and just to make it better than ever, it's and it's air conditioned, so it's dry in there. So the humidity is knocked out because of the air conditioning. So that's another nice plus. So as I was mentioning, just to make it even better, there's a photo expert there. There's a professional camera person. So if you want to learn a little bit more and take better pictures and that sort of thing, you've got this expert right next door in a camera shop where you can go in and get pictures. Get parts for your camera, and actually I think they even have a 3D. They didn't have this when I was there, but I think now they even have a 3D printer there. Whereas if you break something on your rig, and you bring the pieces to them, they'll scan it and make a new one right before your very eyes, which is just crazy when you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's a service I've never heard of. That's until then. So they have that now. They didn't have it when I was there. So that would be wonderful if you got yourself into a situation where you couldn't, say, close your underwater housing or something because of some switch or something or clamp, and they can recreate the clamp. Well, that's amazing convenience. So, or take a course at night. You want to take a course at night on how to take better macro shots, because that's why you're there. You're there for macro. And they have a little house reef. I was going to say interpretive. It's not really interpretive, but I think they do have a chart which tells you where you are and that sort of thing. But when you get into water, there's a little rope, and the rope goes around the reef and comes back, so it brings you back home. So maybe for a first dive, just to get acclimatized to what you're getting into, it's nice to go in the water there right off the house reef and go in, find the rope, and then work your way out and work your way around through the little maze, the rope maze, until you come back. And then you'll see a lot of the creatures. You'll see a very 10% of 5% of what you're going to see, but you'll get a taste of, the volcanic bottom, the volcanic ash covered bottom, and you'll see the cardinal fish there. You might see a frogfish there. You might see an eel there. A lot of the shrimp and the anemones and that sort of thing you'll see there. So it's a great start. And tours, I mentioned at the start of this video about the tours. So the tours into the mainland, into the jungles here, and to see the tarsiers and the monkeys and stuff up in the up in the forest. And I can't remember the name of the monkeys. I'll try to, put the pictures on there and stuff. There's one called, I think, a tree bear or something like that, but it has a technical name, of course. But I remember when we first went into the jungle, they didn't want us to be there, so they started throwing figs at us, and boy, they can throw them hard from a long ways away. So it just started raining, and I didn't understand. I was kind of like, oh, what's that? What's that? And then I realized that we were under attack from the monkeys. So they can be very aggressive. So and then eventually you make your way to where the tarsiers are, and they like to be, you have to see them sort of at night. They won't come out unless it's kind of dusk. So at the end of the day, you kind of show up at where they are, and they're in these big trees, and they'll sneak out in the dark. We were supposed to give them these big grasshoppers, and we would go and put them on the tree, and they would crawl up the tree, and then the tarsier would come out with their big eyes and then eat it in front of you with their little human-like hands. They're very cute. They're about this tall, and they're just adorable. What else here? Impressions of the resort. Well, I'll leave a link to our review of the resort from 2014 in TripAdvisor. I'll leave that under this video so that you can go look at our review, but feel free to look at all the current reviews, because they have changed management there. The photo management has changed as well, I believe. I think the dive shop management is still the same. But I can't believe that it had gone one way or the other. But I just know that it was exceptionally managed when we were there. It was like one of the best experiences ever. The dive service when we were there was excellent. Again, they use whiteboards on board to show you, where you're going to dive, what the underwater topology is like. They'll also show you the life that you'll see there, as well, and the depths that you'll see, and so you get a very good idea of what you're getting into each dive. So it's very good. They're all very knowledgeable, very courteous, and they go the extra mile for you. And you can also hire them, and I would encourage you to do this to make it even more special diving experience for you, is to hire the DMs that you can really connect with for one-on-one, because it can be aggressive between the photographers there when you have these big queues of photographers. You can be sit there waiting, and no one wants to be there waiting using up air when it's not that deep in Lembeh, so you're not consuming a lot of air. But again, it's just, you'd rather get your shots and move on to the next thing, especially when you first get there and you don't know the landscape. So go ahead and hire somebody that you feel comfortable with, one of the DMs that you see that knows their stuff, you make some rapport with. Spa service was excellent, very discreet, very courteous and knowledgeable, and certainly affordable. The price points were excellent for all of the treatments that they gave. So I would highly recommend taking advantage of the spa there as well. A lot of places you can't take advantage of the spa. It's prohibitively expensive. So I can't remember how much exactly the treatments were, but very affordable, very affordable. And a nice environment. It's a very nice spa environment as well. And they have a pickup and drop off service, so they'll actually pick you up right at the airport in Manado here. You'll get into an air-conditioned van. They'll hand you wet towels and lemon, because you're going to be, there's high humidity and high heat and that sort of thing, especially if you show up in monsoon season. So you can wipe your face off and get ready for this hour-and-a-half drive, which isn't an hour and a half at 500 miles an hour. It's, weaving through the jungle. So that's what it takes, an hour and a half. And in comfort, the whole time, which is nice. And they keep you in comfort the whole time. And then you come across on the little boat here, and the boat will be sitting there waiting every time, so there's no fooling around. They're very coordinated. It doesn't matter when your flight arrives or leaves, they're on it. And same thing, they'll take you all the way back to the Manado. So the resort is pick up and drop off at the airport. Wonderful service, and it's just great. So again, the price point for this resort, the cost of the diving, the spa, the management of the resort, the value proposition for Lembeh Resort is top notch. I would highly recommend it, and I'm sure there's others. It's the only one that we've been to, but we've been to a lot of others not in Lembeh. Other divers are all over the world, and I would have to say that this is probably the top place ever. We did have a nice place in Papa Paradise and Raja Ampat, which was way up there as well. But I would say that the edge definitely in 2014 will, for all our experiences, would go to Lembeh Resort. It was just exceptional from start to finish. So good job, Lembeh Resort. And I hope if you have any questions about Lembeh Resort, or you've got some updates because you've been there since 2014 about the new management, the new photo place, the new photo people, please leave comments below so that everybody else can see those about how things have changed and maybe for the better. But I don't know how you get better than it was before. It was crazy, but again, they have this 3D printer, so you never know what else they've added to their services. So thanks for watching.